Good day, everyone. We are Group 2, and we will be presenting 5 interesting organisms under phylum Nidaria.
Who's that Pokemon?
I'm excited to introduce to you a small but fascinating marine creature, Haliclitus antarcticus, more commonly known as the stalk jellyfish. It belongs to the phylum Nidaria, which includes corals, sea anemones, and of course, jellyfish. It's part of the class Taurozoa, a lesser-known group of stalk jellyfish that live attached to surfaces. Taxonomically, it falls under the orders Tauromedusae, family Lucernariidae, and genus Haliclitus. The species was first described by Pfeffer in 1889, marking its official scientific debut. What makes Haliclitus antarcticus special? For starters, it's oviparous, laying eggs rather than giving live birth. It has a stalk body and, in its mature form, develops 8 gonads arranged in 4 pairs, stretching from the central mouth down the arms. These gonads are quite visible and become fully developed when the body, or calyx, reaches about 11.72 meters or more in height. Now, where can you find this jelly? Well, Haliclitus antarcticus is only one of 2 Haliclitus species found in the southern hemisphere. It was first discovered near South Georgia Island, Antarctica, and has since been sighted in parts of Argentina, Chile, and other spots across the southern Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Despite its delicate look, Haliclitus antarcticus is carnivorous. It feeds mainly on small crustaceans and fly larvae. Larger individuals especially enjoy calanoid copepods, while smaller ones tend to snack on amphipods. In Chile, their diet includes herpaticoid copepods, amphipods, chinomid larvae, and even polychaete worms, juvenile decapods, and gastropods. As for behavior, juveniles begin life attached to algae like Ceramium vigratum, but as they grow and mature, they move to sturdier surfaces like eelgrass, other algae, or even the underside of boulders, especially in South Georgia. So let's talk about anatomy. Haliclitus antarcticus has a distinct stalk, or peduncle, which anchors it to algae or rocks. The calyx, or the main body, contains its stomach and reproductive organs. It also has anchors at the base of the stalk to help it grip its surface, and tentacles around the mouth for catching prey. It's a small jellyfish, typically found in intertidal or shallow subtidal zones. Internally, it has a gastric cavity divided into perradial and interradial sections, and gonads that run along the arms. The stalk contains long muscle bands, giving it strength and flexibility. And lastly, a few extra details. In terms of color, Heraclitus antarcticus can be translucent or show reddish-brown gonads. It's often spotted clinging to algae and rocks in Antarctica, Argentina, and Chile. While it may seem safe from predators, it's actually on the menu for Nototenia rossi, a species of fish. As of now, it's not considered threatened, but climate change, rising ocean temperatures, and acidification could pose future risks to its habitat and survival. So, next time you think of jellyfish, remember Haliclitus antarcticus, small, stalk, and full of surprises.
Who's that Pokemon?
The world turned upside down is a common saying when everything feels backward, when everything you thought you knew gets flipped on its head. But for this Nandarian, that's just daily life. Up is down and down is up for the Cassiopeia samacana, the upside down jellyfish, classified under phylum Nandaria, class Scyphozoa, order Zostemea, and family Cassiopeidae. This jellyfish is bluish and brownish in color and is bell-shaped with branched arms for maximum surface area. Unlike its free-floating cousins, Cassiopeia prefers life close to shore, in warm, shallow waters like the Caribbean Sea, Florida Keys, and the Western Atlantic Ocean. You'll often find it in mangrove swamps, seagrass beds, and coastal lagoons, nestled sessile on the sandy mudflat, with its bell pressed against the surface and its tentacles pointed upward, swaying towards the sun. But here's a question. Why would a jellyfish choose to live upside down? Well, the answer lies in its symbiotic relationship with microscopic algae called zooxanthellae. By living inside the jellyfish's tissues, the jellyfish offers the zooxanthellae a safe, sunny home, and in return, the algae uses sunlight to perform photosynthesis, producing carbohydrates that feed the jellyfish. The upside-down position, paired with its pulsing bell motions, helps the jellyfish distribute light and water evenly around its tentacles and maximizes sunlight exposure, and in turn, also maximizes energy production from its microscopic partners. However, like a typical jellyfish, it still feeds on small organisms by capturing prey using its ctenocytes, or its stinging cells, found in its tentacles. This feeding style of both photosynthesis and capturing food makes the Cassiopeia a mixotroph, part predator, part solar power plant marvel. But while this wholesome relationship may make this jellyfish seem harmless, there is still a sting to its sweetness. Because another fun fact is that Cassiopeia can sting without contact. This is because it releases clouds of mucus into the water, mucus that contains casiosomes, which are microscopic stinging cell bundles. This mucus floats in the water and can sting swimmers who happen to pass by. It's often responsible for the mysterious phenomenon known as stinging water. So, if you're ever in warm water and suddenly feel a sting, but don't see a jellyfish, this might just be the culprit. But despite its secret sting, Cassiopeia still plays another gentle role in the ecosystem. Its tentacles act as a safe haven for small fish, crustaceans, and other invertebrates. These tiny sea creatures use a jellyfish like a floating coral reef, gaining protection among its tentacles, while the jellyfish benefits by picking up some bonus stacks of stray particles. Now it's become not just a solar-powered jelly, but a solar-powered underwater hotel, creating microhabitats in otherwise flat environments. What's even more surprising is that the Cassiopeia is a brainless genius of the sea. Like all jellyfish, it doesn't have a brain, but instead has a nerve net, a decentralized web of neurons to sense light, gravity, and chemical signals. This makes this a creature incredibly useful to science. Researchers are even using Cassiopeia as a model organism to study. Firstly, symbiosis and coral bleaching, since corals rely on zooxanthellae, and because the Cassiopeia is a bioindicator species. Secondly, understanding sleep consciousness and light detection, because a study by Nath et al. Showed that it exhibits sleep-like states, called quiescence, at nighttime, making it an interesting model for understanding how biological clocks work in simple animals. And thirdly, how animals without brains coordinate movement and behavior. In 2019, it even became the first jellyfish species to have its genome fully sequenced, helping researchers explore the genetic basis of animal-algae symbiosis. So there you have it. In a way, this jellyfish turns everything we think we know upside down, literally and figuratively. It doesn't drift gracefully through the ocean, it doesn't chase prey, and it doesn't even float right side up. But in a world that often feels competitive and chaotic, this strange, simple little jellyfish reminds us that cooperation, not domination, is often the key to thriving. And with all this knowledge in mind, whenever you feel like your life has turned upside down, look on the bright side, because, just like the Cassiopeia samacana, the new jarring perspective only orients you towards the sun.
Who's that Pokemon?
Before I start, I would like to show a picture on this video for you to determine what type of living organism is this. Pause this video to think. Done? If you thought of it as a harmless marine plant with ferns, then you're wrong. This is actually a marine animal called the stinging bush hydroid as a nickname, precisely named the Microcrinkia philippina, if I pronounce it correctly, sorry. They are under the class Hydrozoa and the phylum Cnidaria. This stinging bush hydroid is a large feather-like hydroid. They are also called the sea ferns. From a far perspective, they look like ordinary ferns, but if you look closely, they're actually colonies of animals. Same as hydroids since they're marine and colonial in form. And obviously they sting when you touch them, given by its name. As for their habitat, they stay in clumps of coral and rocky reefs in areas of current and in surge areas. Now, about the location, the species was first found in the Philippines, following South Africa, Japan, Hawaii, Australia, Polynesia, some parts in Western Atlantic and Eastern Atlantic, you name it. But enough of the geographical locations. Let's talk about the hydroids' functions, feeding, and behavior, and I'll talk about a fun fact about them. Let's look closer to the colony. The colony attached by irregularly branched root-like rhizoids, looking like a brown thingy, with the erect brown stalks, called the hydrocolly. The hydrocolly gives rise to irregular branches with the segmented branchlets, called the hydrocladia. This bears a kidney-shaped hydrothecae, which is like a cup-like capsule with hypostome, looking like a mouth structure. And this mouth structure is surrounded by approximately 8 to 10 tentacles. Yes, these hydroids are carnivorous, and they use their tentacles to catch small animals such as zooplanktons. And of course, they eat them. There is also specialized hydrocladia, also known as a phalatocarps, bearing the reproductive male and female gonozoids. And how do you recognize them by sex? You recognize them by color. Male gonozoids are yellowish-brown, while the female gonozoids are reddish-brown. Remember that. And as you may know from our zoology classes, gonozoids are the reproductive polyps that produce and release the sexual medusoids, the one that would swim by pulsation away from its parent hydroid, kind of like a tiny jellyfish, leaving its nest of an aquatic fern, except it is an animal. And those medusoids would sadly release their eggs and sperm quickly and then die later on. Now, about my not so fun fact. Do you know that this hydroid has been mistaken for being a harmless aquatic plant? Scuba divers would accidentally touch the animal, causing it to sting them. Yes, they really sting, they hurt. It is said that they experience light symptoms of acute burning pain to actually dangerous symptoms. The venom may not be lethal. However, they're still harmful for bathers and divers. And according to Banaguro et al., this venom contains peptides and several low molecular mass compounds, which cause fast inflammatory reactions. Just good enough for these hydroids to defend themselves from other animals. Impressive, aren't they? So next time, if you ever want to go diving with your friends, make sure to be cautious around unfamiliar marine-like animals that look harmless, pretty plants like this hydroid. You don't want their so-called ferns to sting you and make you experience this burning sensation. As pretty and interesting as they look, just appreciate them from afar without touching them. Thank you guys for watching.
Who's that Pokemon?
Good day, everyone. I'd like to ask you, what is the strongest superpower that you have encountered while watching movies? Some might say it's super strength or super speed, but wouldn't you also consider immortality in the choices? I mean, imagine avoiding the effects of aging. Well, there's actually an animal that has achieved this so-called immortality. I present to you the Turritopsis dohrnii, commonly known as the immortal jellyfish. It belongs to phylum Cnidaria, class Hydrozoa, order Anthoathecata, and family Oceanidae. The Turritopsis dohrnii is a hydrozoan that has the ability to revert back into its polyp form after threatened during the medusa stage, thus the name immortal jellyfish. It is actually small and bell-shaped during the medusa stage and has a maximum diameter of about 4.5 millimeters. That's 0.18 inches, and that means it's actually about the size of the nail on your pinky finger. As for the location, the immortal jellyfish could usually be found in warm tropical waters, and it was originally discovered in the Mediterranean Sea. Right now, they're quite known as major ocean invaders because they've spread across the world's oceans due to water discharges from cargo ships. Miglietta and Lessius call this the silent invasion. Although these species are definitely invasive because of their immortal lifespans, they remain unnoticed due to their size and because they're generally harmless. For their diets, they're actually carnivorous predators and they usually feed on zooplankton, larvae, fish eggs, and mollusks. And for their unique behavior, I would expound on their biological immortality. Like most hydrozoans, they start as a sessile polyp, form new polyp colonies, and mature as the adult medusa. The only difference is how they respond to aging, injury, and environmental changes and stress. As you can see in the diagram shown in the slides, compared to the normal life cycle, the immortal jellyfish transforms itself back to the blob-like cyst, which will eventually turn into polyps. After that, the reversed polyp can undergo cellular changes in order to turn back into the free-swimming medusa. This process is called transdifferentiation, which involves the direct conversion of mature cells into different cells of different lineage. In this way, we can conclude that these jellyfishes can reverse their life cycles and delay aging, therefore making them biologically immortal. All this information leads us back to one question. Do immortal jellyfishes really not die? Well, even though they're able to avoid death from aging, they're still susceptible to death by other means, such as predation. After all, jellyfishes are prey to other organisms such as fishes, crustaceans, and sea slugs. For the features, I'd like to expound on their features during the polyp stage and the medusa stage. For the polyp stage, their hydroid colonies could either be colorless or pinkish. Each hydrant is spindle shaped and has 12 to 20 filiform, thread like tentacles spread all throughout their bodies. And the medusa buds usually emerge from the bottom of the hydrant. So, here. And then for the medusa stage, the manubrium, which contains the gastric cavity, usually has a visible red color. Moreover, the number of tentacles can vary for adults and young medusa. Young medusa can have about 8 to 12 tentacles, meanwhile, adult jellyfishes can have about 19 to 32 tentacles. So, this is the manubrium. And lastly, before I end, I'd like to share a fun fact. Did you know that scientists are currently testing the potential implications of the immortal jellyfish to human aging? In a study conducted by Velasco Munoz and his colleagues during 2024, they examined the regenerative process of immortal jellyfish and investigated the possibilities of applying this to human tissue restoration. However, the results say that cell reprogramming rather, can cause problems like cancer and the spread of harmful cells in humans, mainly because, unlike jellyfishes, human cells may have damaged DNA. Despite these limitations, the immortal jellyfish serves as a promising model for advancing our understanding of aging and regeneration. That's all for my part. Thank you for listening.
Who's that Pokemon?
When we think of jellyfishes, we might imagine something like this: bright, glowing, and majestic. But what if I told you there's a jellyfish that looks more ethereal and almost ghost-like? Say hello to the crystal jellyfish, otherwise known as the Echorea victoria. The crystal jellyfish is classified under phylum Cnidaria, subphylum Medusazoa, class Hydrozoa, order Leptothecata, and family Echoreidae. For its characteristics, these jellyfishes have a unique appearance, being colorless and nearly transparent. They also have many delicate tentacles of varying sizes. They're typically 150 in number. As for their size, they are relatively small and can grow to be around 5 to 10 centimeters. Also, despite possessing stinging cells, crystal jellyfishes are harmless to humans. They are commonly found in the open waters of the Pacific Ocean or along the western coast of Northern America, from Vancouver to Southern California. As for the jellyfish's feeding habits, they are carnivorous and mainly feed on copepods, but prefer to eat other hydromedusae and comb jellies. A study observed intragill predation between the crystal jellyfish and another hydrozoan named Clitia gregaria, which was originally called Phyllidium gregarium. This type of predation means that the crystal jellyfish does not only kill competing species, but also feeds on them. Since the Clitia gregaria and Echorea victoria compete over zooplankton, they're basically killing two birds with one stone by predating on one another. For its features, the crystal jellyfish is bioluminescent, meaning it emits light by producing fluorescent proteins. More specifically, they possess green fluorescent proteins, or GFP, which exhibit green light when exposed to blue or ultraviolet light. And fun fact, the GFP from crystal jellyfishes were used to create green mice by inserting the GFP into the mice. This glowing protein is used as a highlighter to help scientists find and quickly study genes. So the crystal jellyfish is pretty interesting and useful in some scientific areas. But is it facing any threats of endangerment? Fortunately, no. The populations of Echorea victoria are relatively stable, meaning that we'll be seeing this marvelous animal around for a long time.
And that wraps up all of our findings on these Nidarians. We hope you learned a lot about these animals. The next time you head to the beach, please make sure to watch out for them. This is Group 2 signing off. Thank you!